there is an ongoing conversation in Australia about whether or not to change the date of Australia Day. Those who advocate for the change, which now include the Australian Cricket Board, do so out of a desire to recognise that the arrival of the First Fleet in Sydney Cove on January 26, 1788, was the beginning of the dispossession of Aboriginal people, the ill effects of which continue to this day. Those who oppose the change, which include the Prime Minister, do so out of a desire to recognise all the good that has happened throughout Australian history, all the good there is now, and to not negate that, despite whatever suffering there may be. How do we, as Catholics, find a position on this? It's good that we don't just give way to the loudest voice, the slickest argument, or the majority, but rather we try to listen to the truth that is spoken on each side, and then to prayerfully discern a way forward from there. And so for us to be able to hold the truth that Australia is a great nation, that we are and have done great things, but also that British colonisation took place at the expense of the First Nations people who were here before us and who continue to coexist in Australia despite adversity to this day. To be able to rejoice at this multicultural success story that Australia is, the envy of the world, and yet to recognise that First Nations people still suffer both overt and covert racism, and Australia's treatment of refugees and asylum seekers and those who want to find a better life for themselves and their children, our treatment has sometimes been mean. To be able to be grateful for the prosperity of our nation, of this resource-rich, industrialised country, but also to note that wealth is not distributed fairly. There is great inequality in Australia, and that many people suffer in poverty. For us to hold these truths in tension allows us to grow a deeper conversation than simply giving way to one answer or the other in a quick, expedient way might do. And the capacity for us to hold uncomfortable truths in tension actually says something about ourselves, that we have an understanding of ourselves which is in alliance with a Catholic anthropology. Because a Catholic understanding of the human person recognises that we are good, we are made in the image of God, but we are also flawed, fallen, and sinful. That we are rational beings, but we are also emotionally driven as well. That we are physical beings, organic beings, but we also are a soul and a spirit which is inseparable from the body. That we have free will, and yet we are also shaped by our circumstances and environment. And that to be able to hold these tensions, which are sometimes uncomfortable, they often leave us struggling to find an answer, but to be able to hold these leaves us in a place of openness, where the Beatitudes, which we read as our gospel for this feast day, can really speak to. Because the Beatitudes of Jesus are not spoken to people who are perfect, complete, or already finished. No, they're spoken to people who are works in progress. Because the meek recognise that they are able to give way to others. They don't insist that they are right and perfect all the time. The merciful want to give way to another, who want to give credence to somebody on the other side of a debate. Those who hunger and thirst for justice want the best for everyone, not just for themselves. And those who are poor in spirit recognise that they still have room to go and room to grow. And indeed, we all do. If we are able to let our hearts be shaped by these Beatitudes, then we grow that capacity to sit with uncomfortable truths, which may seem like polar opposites, but may each have truth on each side that requires a deep listening, a deep discernment. If we can cultivate that listening and discernment in ourselves, then we may be able to do it as a nation as well, so that the Beatitudes may indeed be spoken of as the qualities of all Australia, that Australians may be merciful, poor in spirit, able to mourn with those who mourn and celebrate with those who celebrate, able to hunger and thirst for justice for everybody. This day we celebrate Australia Day. May it be a beautiful day for all of us, able to recognise both the good and the struggle of all Australian people, and look forward to the future with hope.